Uh, so thanks everyone for joining. So this is the first edition of Level Up with Claude Code, and we are planning to make this into a series. So glad that you're here from the start. So lately, everywhere you turn around, right, it's just Claude Code purely. But when you actually try to get started with here, there's a wall that's been hit. So if you're coming from a GTM or RevOps background, that wall is very real, like it's huge. So we have both hit it, and we have also gotten past it over a period of time in the last few months, and that is why this series is all about. So introducing myself, I'm Bhuvanesh. I handle GTM and RevOps here at Leadle. Everything between playables, outbound infrastructure, HubSpot, all lies between data and pipeline is mine. And with me, I have Akil here. He head RevOps. He is basically 4 years into the space right now, and he is going to like lead the setup and everything today. Our sessions is completely belonging to Akil here. So I'll be asking the wait, what did you do that and why do you do that questions, probably like mimicking all you people here. So here's the agenda. Basically, we'll start with what Cloud Code is actually, and we walk through the best project architecture and memory setups, and where people, most people go wrong in their setups and the establishment phase, right? And we'll also touch base with terms like models, modes, and every other minor areas that can give boost for you. And then we will go into a live build session on screen from scratch, and we'll wrap it up with a standard Q&A, more of like any doubts that you can have. Feel free to drop the doubts that you have in the chat while the session is also happening, but we'll take all the questions at the end. So more about like 50 minutes. And all right, Akil can take it away from here.
Yeah. Thanks, Bhuvanesh. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining. So I'm Akil, and I head the RevOps team at Leadle. So we do GTM RevOps consulting and build outbound systems for B2B teams. So most of what we do day to day is to help companies turn their vague sales and revenue motions into predictable systems. So today's session is about one of the tools that's changed the landscape of how our teams operate lately, and that's mostly on Claude Code. And so let's get started. So quick housekeeping. This is a beginner session, and if you've never opened Claude Code before, you're in the right space. And by the end of the session, you'll know what it is, how to structure a project, and you'll also watch me build a beginner level account segmentation agent. So at any given point, there is no coding required. And also we'll be sending in the recording and the cheat sheet after the session so that you can revisit at any given point of time.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. So I have to start with a very basic question. Like when we started, we had the same question, right?
Yeah.
Isn't this just Claude, yet another Claude chat, right? What's the difference between Claude and Claude? So that's the first question we all had. I think Akil, you can start from that.
Yeah, so let me clear that first, because everything downstream and during this session depends on that. So I'll lay out a basic example differentiating the two. So one is Claude, that is the Claude regular chat, and next is the Claude code. So let's take Claude chat let's consider as a brilliant consultant that's over a phone call. So you ask questions, it answers, so the session is closed and it's done. On the flip side, Claude Code is with the same brain, but consider or imagine that you've given it a desk in your office. It can go through your files. It knows your business process, knows about your offerings. It has access to your tools, and it also remembers what you spoke and decided yesterday or previously, and also run things on a schedule and hand over deliverables, and not just in a chat window.
Yeah, so it's more like same models but different bars given to each.
Exactly. Yeah. So same underlying intelligence, but the difference is what it can touch and what it has access to. So Claude Chat is more sandboxed. So say words typed in, responses typed out. So, but on the flip side, Claude Code lives inside your project directory that is on your local system and gets to act on your files.
Yeah. So more like I think we need to be walking through each what does, right, in bit of detail.
Right.
So maybe like you can explain how Claude Code is better than chat and what it can do in Nexus.
Yeah, sure. So let me walk through that. So we can take 6 items. So one is Claude Code can read your files. It can be anything. It can be any file that's on your system, say CSV files, Markdown files, any call transcript, any document files, your regular Excel files, anything that goes into the project directory. It can read that file, and not only read that file, it can also write and edit those files based on that particular project that you work on. And number three is it has a context and memory of that particular project that we'll deep dive into as we go through this session. And number four is it follows the entire Claude Code project follows a specific set of project rules. That's basically the CLAUDE.md file, which is the brain of a project inside a Claude Code. And the exciting part over here, the number five is it can use get access to your external tools, whichever is having an MCP or has an API management. Example, your CRM, HubSpot, your calendar tool, Slack, for instance, or your sales engagement tools. There's a plethora of tools that's compatible with Claude Code that has an MCP, it has API. So all of this. And finally is it runs commands in batches. It can search the web, it can run scripts. And we're talking about volume here and not just the regular chat where you input a file and then get an output out of it.
Yeah, so it's basically 6 additional add-ons that we get in Claude Code. That actually it's huge, right? It's almost like getting in a lot of additional things which was not solved in chat.
Correct. But it all collapses into one mental model, right? You can think, easy takeaway over here is you can think of Claude with tool and file access. That's the whole deal about Claude Code. Everything else flows from that.
Yeah.
So, yep.
All right. I think we can get started with the basics, setting up the folder and
Yes.
get.
So let me share my screen and show the interface. Is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the Claude Code interface. So there are plenty of tutorials that is around the terminal setup and all of that, but we're trying to skip and keep this for a beginner level because each OS, if we have to go by the terminal route, each OS has its own initial setup required. But if you look at the desktop version of Claude, it has if you move, this is the regular chat. And this is the code, Claude Code over here. This is pretty device agnostic, except if you're on Linux. So if you're on Windows or Mac, then this is pretty much agnostic over there. It's easy to use. It's user friendly. And what you see over here is it pretty much looks like a regular chat, right? But you notice something over here. Let me close this. That says local. So this is basically where that particular instance of Claude Code, that is your project, runs in. And if you're hosting it on a cloud, say GitHub or anywhere, then you find the environments over here. And this is the place where the whole project lives. So if I have to plug in, say, one particular path, I just have to add it into it. And then it sort of goes through that particular path and discovers what the project is supposed to do. Yeah. So for example, let's say I'm in session 1 and I'm just going to query in where is this directory? Okay, located, and my bad. Just a second. What does it do? Let me just make sure that I'm on the right folder. Yes. So now what we see here is it is read through which location the folder is in. What is inside the folder, that is what the project would do. So right now in the folder is a agent, that is a very beginner agent that segments the accounts that you provide. And the identity of this particular project or an agent is that it acts as a account segmentor for B2B company. It can be anything. The use case differs from project to project, right? So what it ideally does is you give it a list of companies, CSV from a database, and it will classify into 3 buckets. One is sequence, which is you can reach out to these accounts that's fitting your ICP. And then the second one is you can review these accounts, the borderline accounts that need your review, and then the ones that are excluded, which do not qualify your target audience. That is, like, it does not even qualify your ICP. So what it has basically done, what this one single prompt has done, is it has gone through the CLAUDE.md file, that is the main instruction file inside the folder, and has given a short brief on what that project does.
Yeah. Akil, I'm taking a step back, right? One common doubt that we had when we started Claude Code, it's like, is it just for engineers? Because the name has code. Even with Codex, we thought the same, right? So I think that question is still in mind for a lot of people. So what do you say on that, right?
Yeah, the code in Claude Code can be a little misleading, but it essentially means that Claude Code can read code. Main thing is it can read any file. It can read code. It can read CSVs, markdowns, any file that lives in the directory that you have plugged in. So that's where the Claude Code terms in. It can be quite misleading. But for sales and GTM folks, you almost never code. You usually use it for processes like segmenting accounts, summarizing your calls, discovery calls, drafting campaign content, and creating projects that are reusable. Basically, like creating repeatable workflows. So today's session, is all about that. Zero code. So it's all going to be in plain English. So yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the bar to entry is very basic, right? And you can you write down whatever you want.
Yeah, that's it. So if you can write a process doc, if you can pen down your business, details on your business offerings and all of that, then you can use Claude Code.
Yeah. All right. So I think it's right time we can move into the project architecture. So we can get started with the live session at here.
Yes, I'm sharing my
Yeah. And in the meantime, chat, like if you have any questions or want to do, you can like start dropping it in the chat. And we'll take these questions towards end.
Right. Okay. So I'll start with the project architecture. So I'll keep it very simple. So think of Claude Code as a brain with file access. So where do these files go? That's the project architecture. So let me show you how a folder should look like. Say this is the MD file that I was talking about, Claude.md file, right? This is where the entire instruction goes. And then the sample data folder, this is where the input file goes in. then this is where the processed output file lands into once the whole agent works on it and you get the output into the output folder. And you also have a readme.md file that will sort of plug each and every file. So it has the instructions from the CLAUDE.md, and it knows it's sort of second layer to the main instruction. So it sort of tells what it does. It's a basic README file that's about it. And the most important thing here is the CLAUDE.md file. Okay, so that has the entire context of what that project is. So for instance, let me open this. Bhuvanesh, just let me know if this is visible or pixelated.
Yeah, it's visible. Yeah, we got confirmation from the chat as well. So it's visible.
Perfect. So right now, what we're doing here is we are giving an identity. So like mentioned before, we are creating a beginner level account segmentation agent. So we're giving it an identity, and then what it should be doing. So giving a list of, we're going to be giving a list of target accounts and asking it to classify into 3 buckets. That is qualified, which is sequence, the ones that needs human review, and then the ones that have been disqualified. So yeah, and then we're defining, yeah, one second, let me admit them. Yeah, and then we're defining how the input file would look like. So in this case, it's a CSV file, and it will basically have all the columns, the company name, all the parameters around the company, basically the company details that will help us qualify the account. And then the next layer that we give out is the pipeline layer. So there are 2 layers within that. Level 1, that is the layer 1, will validate the input that you're giving. So what I mean by this is that file, when you're getting it out of a database, it's pretty much a clean structured file. But if you're going to scrape it out of anywhere from the internet, it may not be structured or sanitized. So in that case, it will validate the input and normalize. For example, if it has a misspelled domain, then it corrects that this and it sanitizes the whole data inside that. Up next is if it requires dedupe, if there is a repetition of line items of companies, then it dedupes. And then the layer 2 is where the whole rule set will come in. So each company will have their own ICP filters, right? So it will have a different set of rule sets. So as you can see here, so we're looking at industry filters. So I can explicitly tell it what needs to be qualified, what goes into qualified, what is straight away going to be excluded. Then comes in the employee size filters, then the revenue filters. So there are, the crux of it is to give it rules that will use all these parameters, and based on this, it will create a framework and then put them into the 3 segments. And yeah.
Got it. So Akil, a quick question. When you have the file open, right? How long this file should be? So initially when I started with, I had a 50 long page and I ended up with a lot of problems. We know about that. So is it supposed to be like lesser?
Yeah, so it needn't be like 50 pages, to be honest. It's that's the number 1 mistake that beginners use. In fact, that's the mistake that I did. So start small, start with 1 or 2 pages. The version on screen that you see is about 2 to 3 pages, and that's already mature. So if you write a 50-page MD file, CLAUDE.md file on day 1, you'll probably abandon it by day 3. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so accurate. So it's like start small and keep iterating and let it grow by its own.
Exactly. So as in when you work, you add rules as you spot gaps. So as you work on the session, you'll start noticing, okay, fine, this is 1 piece that I need to plug into. this is one set of rules that I need to mention in the project. So start small and start building, one by one, and do not try to, predict every edge case upfront and, get overwhelmed by it.
Yeah, I think it's right time to ask the next question. Why this matters a lot more for sales, GTM, and people like us?
Yeah. So every time you start a Claude session in this folder, right, like any folder, it skims through the CLAUDE.md, the instruction file first. So in this use case, we are looking at, defining your ICP, your ideal target audience. And each time you work on it, this will refer this MD file so that there is no vague memory, there is no hallucination, there's nothing. You've defined it once, and each time it's going to run, it's going to fetch that information and run based on that.
Got it. Yeah. So it's basically like a playbook. Write it down once and the team follows it, right?
Yeah, it's the same idea, except the playbook gets followed every single time.
Yeah, no more human or human SDR mistakes that happens here. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I have one disclaimer over here is treat the Claude MD file as a instruction file only. So whatever that needs to go into is ideally say like a job, for example, like a job description that would that you would give to an AI hire.
yeah,
And no sensitive information goes into the Claude MD file, no API keys, no tokens, anything that is sensitive info that should be kept out of the Claude MD file. It's strictly to be with the instructions, what the agent should do. Again, that's use case specific. So no sensitive information inside the Claude MD file, sorry.
okay, yeah. So it goes into a different ENV file, right? So that it's not
Correct.
exposed. And
Yeah.
maybe like what if most of the times we don't know something that happens the back end. So basically all this will get added into something called as Git. And it's all exposed in the wide internet if it is in public mode. So anyone can take those data and use it. So unless and until you want to keep it safe, it's better to have it in a different ENV file. Yeah.
Correct.
So I think we are pretty much through the next part of it, the memory layer, right? So you said earlier that Claude Code remembers across sessions. So where does this happen? Because a lot of people would not know that detail, right? Maybe is it on Claude MD level or in a different level?
No, that's a separate system called memory. And let me explain the difference because it sort of overlaps and confuses everyone. So the difference is that Claude MD will have the instructions that the agent should have, that particular project or a workflow should have. So like it will mostly have the rules, the identity, the process level information in it. Whereas the memory is something that is built as you work with it. As there's multiple iterations, it will sort of capture your preferences, the facts, the learnings. Say if you've made, if say you were working with Claude Code, one particular project, and it made a mistake, and you've mentioned you've made a mistake, so it in the memory file it saves yes, this mistake was made. So the next time it runs, it wouldn't make that mistake. In simple
Yeah.
words, Claude MD is the rules, memory is the notebook. So you write the Claude MD once, and the agent updates memory as you talk to it through the iterations.
Yeah, got it. So I think it's right time we jump into this setup models and modes. So there are three models: Sonnet, Opus, and Haiku. We all know that. But within Claude Code, where to use what is something we need to expose it, right? So how do I know which one to pick for what kind of task?
Yeah, so even before you build anything, there are two settings that we should be aware of. One is the model that we're using, two is the mode that we're using. So I'll
Yeah.
start with the model. So everybody knows this. So there are three models from Claude. So one is Sonnet, two is the Opus, and 3, the haiku model, right? I would say, default it to Sonnet, because 90% of the work is taken care by Sonnet itself. But in places where you would need, a harder logic gate, harder reasoning strategy, where you need it to be smarter on, taking judgments, all of that, Opus is the best model that you can go for. But the catch over here is it's a bit slower and pricier. Whereas Sonnet is in the mid layer, right? It is fast, capable, it's not so pricey. It's cheap enough to run the 90% of the tasks. On the other hand, Haiku is you can use it for bulk mechanical work, reformatting, editing files, and it's the cheapest and it's very fast, and but do not rely on Haiku for any logical kind of reasonings, like that would fail, it would fall flat on the face. So no. So the rule of thumb is, if you find yourself arguing with the agent multiple times while building, switch it to Opus. And if you're doing batch work, basically a very boring batch work of editing files, like structuring it, drop it to Haiku. Otherwise, Sonnet would do great.
Yeah. All right then.
And I missed on one thing. So this is where we can set the models. So we have Opus here, Sonnet, and Haiku. And moving on, so before I said there are two things. One is the model, two is the modes. So mode is a pretty critical thing. So there are, let me show that on my screen. So there are, I'm going to skip 1. I'm going to start with 2, 3, and 4. So accept edits is it reviews every file edit, every as you start using the project, once it commences, every file edit, every command process, and it asks you to approve. It's safe, it's slow, but it's the best practice. You get to see step by step on what you approve, what you can deny, and where to pull the plug. But on plan mode, when you can use it is when you give a big task. Say, if you need a brainstorming sort of a thing, and it researches, read files, it proposes a plan, and nothing gets injected into the main architecture until you approve the plan. So it's ideal for first time complex tasks. And the auto mode is when you have completed the agent and you're confident with this workflow, you're pretty happy and confident with the output that it gives. Once you know that, okay, fine, this particular project can be reused n number of times, then you can go auto mode, because it is going to stick to what it does. So it's not going to span out of whatever it's supposed to do. So that's when you have to go into the auto mode.
No, all right. So yeah, pretty much it's like auto mode doesn't ask anything. Plan directly thinks first, and accept will ask you for everything, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a tip over here. Beginners should always, go with accept mode first. At least for first few weeks of usage, you learn the rhythm of what the agent does. And then once you're confident with what you've built, then slowly graduate that into auto mode.
True. Yeah. All right. I think we can get started with the setup stage. So basically, we'll work with a folder right now and build the first agent, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get started. So right now, so the first step is to create the folder. So I'm going to create a new folder. going to name it account segmentation agent. So right now the directory does not have any file into it. Yeah, and coming back to Claude Code, I'm going to start a new session. I'm going to plug that directory into this. So this is the newly created one. There is no file. It's pretty much empty. And this is where I will start. So I have the prompt ready for the initialization because it's a pretty extensive prompt and I don't want to take too much of time around it. So let me take that prompt. I'll just break down this prompt. It's pretty...
Akil, the prompt is not visible.
Okay. Let me add that here. Now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So first step is I'm giving the identity based on what it should do. And then the layers, the pipeline, the actual work that it has to do. Then I'm diving deeper into the layer 1 and layer 2, how it has to function. So as you can see here, the use case is to segment the accounts on top of the list that I provide, and the output should land into the output folder into 3 segments. So for that, these are the rule sets that would be ideal for our target audience. So this is subjective. This can change from business to business. So yeah, I'm defining. So I'm not going to take too much of time diving into this because it's it's different for all. So
Yeah.
I'll just give what industries qualify, what do not qualify straight away, and then which of these company sizes qualify, revenue filters, and there is a priority rule, so which denotes clearly, I'm defining this rule set clearly that, hey, exclude if account or a company gets segmented as exclude, then it beats everything. Even if revenue matches, then it's not going to get into review or sequence. Then review beats sequences. So if any of the filters, any of the parameter says review, then it goes into review for a human intervention. Then if all the filters that we have applied on top, if it passes, then it moves into the sequence bucket. And then I'm defining how the output format should be each time. So every time the agent runs, it will not fall out of this format. It is going to stick to this format and only. So I will ask you to start with a summary dashboard. That is the total count of accounts that went in, how many have fallen into sequence, how many have fallen into review, how many have fallen into exclude. And then finally, I'll also ask you to give a CSV file so that I can reuse it to find the target personas from those accounts. And of course, you will also mention the edge cases. So the first rule is borderline accounts default to review. You don't want to miss out on those accounts that did not get qualified on a slim margin, right? So this I would like to have the team reviewed than to have it discarded, right? So I'm giving those kind of edge cases, and B2C companies are always excluded for our target audience. So I've mentioned that here, and that's the few examples of the edge cases. And then the next instruction is I've asked you to create a folder where the input file lives. So I don't have to paste that CSV file into Claude, this particular window each time. I just have to drop it into that folder, and once you start the session, it will pick up from there and start processing it. And finally is the output folder where once the processing is done, the output file lands into. Yes, let me start. So right now it's running and the folders and files are getting created.
Yeah.
And we are using Sonnet for this because it needs, you've already defined the rule set, the the whole qualification gate and everything else. So I'm just going to go ahead with Sonnet, and I've not given auto mode, I've given accept. So that's why it asks for the approval first. And as you can see, it has already created the CLAUDE.md file. So this is the identity, then the pipeline that we were talking about, the actual work, and the details around what the agent should perform on. And yes, so now going back to the folder, it was empty earlier. Right after the prompt, we got the folders where the output should go, where the input should go, the CLAUDE.md file as well.
Yeah. So it's more like a working agent at this point, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and most importantly is that it's not a generic CLAUDE.md file. So we've gone through that, and the next step is I'm going to drop in the account list. So let me pick that up. See, this is the account file. I'm going to paste it into the folder. Refer to the input file sample data folder segment 10. So it has picked up the CSV file from there, and it's working on it right now.
Yeah, I think this could be a longer process, right? So in the meantime, we can actually like start taking some questions if it is available.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone has any question, like you can start dropping in. I think it's already like you may think it could be a very basic question, but again, that defines the entire scope of it. When me and Akil started working on that, even we thought those are basics and let's do it ourselves and figure, those kind of questions were the problems that we faced in the matured state, right? So even if you think it's very basic, you can still ask it, and that actually covers a lot when it comes to cloud code that we have seen in a lot of places. So Akil, I just have one more question, right? So okay, we got a question here. So as a first time builder, how can you make the best utilization of the tokens and its limits? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So for a first-time builder, do not front load everything at once. Start one by one. So start small and then build slowly. And routing back to the models. So if you're on Opus and you start away right with Opus, it's gonna consume a lot of your usage limits. So start with Sonnet, and then if it requires a very hard logical reasoning, if your project requires that, only then go with Opus. But Sonnet is a good start. So that's one tip. And two is plan ahead before you start. So if once you have the clarity on, okay, my project is this, it needs to do a particular set of tasks and the output should be this. if you have it pre-planned already and devise that into the session, then the Claude Code wouldn't have to work on how to build what you're trying to build. So that way you will save a lot of output and input tokens. Two is what I do. Towards it's always like there is a time refresh, right? So every 5 hours the usage limit refreshes. So what I do is if there is a hefty task that I have to do, if it's a big project, then I will start sometime before the 5 hour mark, so that it's sort of split. So that's one best practice. Bhuvanesh, if you have any best practices, feel free.
One thing I do right now is I use other chat models to ideate the project I want to implement. So just that I don't get straight here. I do all the heavy lifting part there. I ideate there, write everything, every project scope and everything, and come paste that greenfield project or maybe like a PRD document, right? I'll just bring the PRD doc here and start working on it. So I think that compressed a lot of token usage and also the model choice. Once everything is ideated, I don't need Opus 4.8. So I also like auto compact a lot. It's like I don't wait for auto compacting. I compact up every like 6 to 8 messages depending on the task I'm working on. So those are the tips I use. So it's generic to person. It differs a lot. It can't be the same way. It also changes from project to project. But on plain terms, ideate first in a different chat model and bring it here. So that's one strong thing that we can start working on.
And another
Also,
tip
there are different
is
plugins.
sorry.
Also, there are different plugins that can actually help that cut down.
Yeah.
It's a different topic altogether. Just mentioning it because in the future sessions we would cover plugins and other different areas.
Yes, and another tip is do not use Claude like how we would use ChatGPT, because there is no limit in ChatGPT, but Claude is pretty stringent with their usage limits, and we know why, because there is a clear differentiation across. So
Yeah.
do not use it how you would use your GPT, ChatGPT. So and one other tip or a hack is, if you have a ChatGPT account in parallel, do most of the ideation over there and then come to here for execution. Yeah, on screen.
How Claude's different from GPT? I
mean,
Akil,
both are LLM models. Can't say one is better over the other. GPT is good for certain tasks, for certain projects, for certain ideations. It works well for me. And for certain deeper logical projects, tasks, Claude works. I mean, it depends entirely on use case to use case and what kind of project you're working on.
Yeah, right. I don't see much bigger difference. I mean, even before 5.4, I did see a difference, but GPT 5.5 had changed everything at this point. I would say it's much better. Sometimes the edge cases I feel are really better there.
Yeah. So what you see on screen right now, since I've given it on accept mode, so it's asking me whether it can write the segmented CSV into the output folder. So this is the permission that it will ask for. This is what we were talking about earlier. I'm just going to go and allow it so that the output file is added into the folder in our directory. So in our Claude.md, we did mention that I need a summary dashboard of the entire, the segmentation. So the input list had almost 75 accounts. So we wanted, a low number of accounts so that lesser processing time. So we've had 75 accounts, out of which 39 is good to go. and 8 needs to be reviewed, and 28 have been discarded, which is excluded. It did not fit your ICP results. And it gives the top exclusion reasons, and then the distribution across the industry, the company size distribution. And up next is the table where we see the list of accounts that got qualified. So it has the information over here, the funding stages, the status, and why it got segmented into sequence, the reasoning behind that. And similarly, we will also have a list for review and one that got excluded.
Okay.
So that's the breakup of it. And let me show you where the output file lives. So output goes into the output folder, just as we instructed it, and yeah, it's right there.
Yeah. So what if the columns don't match actually, right? For example, my CRM export headers could be a different order, so or even different names. Would Claude be able to name them differently, or we should do something about it?
I mean, so just have to mention it prior. I mean, tell the agent that, hey, say for instance, if your database provider terms the number of employees in a company as staff count instead of employee count, then mention that. At some places, it would be ARR and not annual revenue. So you can just mention it. Most of the times, the model itself will understand. So you didn't have a perfect schema every time. You just need a willingness to clarify.
Yeah, that's a different question that I got here, right? So do you further input the output file in email marketing or enrichment software? So someone there's a person who asked it.
Do you further input the output file? So right now, what we're looking here is the account level segmentation. So out of the 39 accounts that got qualified, we are going to find the target personas from those accounts, enrich their contact information, and then put them into the engagement tools like email marketing tools or sales engagement tools.
Yeah, and I think it can already be done within the setup. You just need certain APIs and MCP connectors to enrich these detail and push into the tools directly. So it's up to you how you want to do it. Yeah. So I think we are pretty much close towards the end of this, right? So the last one I wanted to ask is, what if I want to test changing the rules without actually changing them within the same project?
Yes, if you want to make an inclusion or some changes without having those changes implemented right away when you're testing it out, that's where the plan mode comes in. So say, for example, you want to expand the filter employee size, the company size filter, but you don't want that to get injected into the directory or the instruction file, but you just want to see how it would look like. Just prompt it out and then change the mode to plan mode, and that will spin up an entire overview of how the output, the entire exercise would change if that inclusion is made.
Yeah, got it.
I think we have one question here.
Yeah. So what connectors are you using for this use case?
For this, pretty much no, because since it's a basic showcase, which is just exporting the company list with all the data points that we need for our, the qualification. So we already have, as long as you have all those columns, we've just exported that CSV as an input, and ask the agent to, process that and give out the segmented list. So to answer no connectors, that will be level 2, which is going to be a session on its own. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the part I wanted to lead on. Thanks for giving me the lead here. So basically, yeah, everyone would ask what's after this. So basically, what's layer 3 and layer 4 and what's there? So I think Akin, you can take give a
Yeah.
clear view on that.
Yeah. So what we saw here was layer 1. So that's basically like, sanitizing the list that you entered. Then the layer 2 is where the actual rule set is applied and the segmentation happens. And layer 3 is once we have the account segmented, once we have the accounts that are good to go, then that's when we will find the target personas from these accounts. And that's where we plug in other external tools, right? Say, for instance, we plug in Apollo or Clay or Zoom Info, any database that provides a API or is or has an MCP. So that's where we plug in the database and enrich the contact information, basically find the contact, then enrich the contact information like email, their phone number, and all of that. And then the next tool that we plug in would be an email sales engagement tool, say like Instantly or Smart Lead. If you're going to use for LinkedIn automation, then it could be HeyReach or AimFox. So you just have to plug in these tools and then instruct the agent to add it into the sequence.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all in short of it is, there's one line takeaway is that you don't need to be a developer to use Claude Code at all. You just need to know your process doc, your business rule, the offering, write them into a Claude.md file. As long as you can pen that down and give it data, you just have to let it work. So the heavy lifting is taken care by the agent itself, or Claude Code here.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. I think we are in the far end of the session. It's already like an hour now. We don't want to hold you for a long time again. So yeah, pretty much we think we have covered the first layer of how to unlock into Cloud Code and everything. So I would say the next steps for us would be, like have a different connector sessions and go about it. And we will also drop you the recording of the session and the other docs via email. So that, and we also include a cheat sheet so that it's easy for you to like set up your first project. So if anyone is able to like set up their first project today, I think that's the first win for us. So yeah, that's why we are heading. So we would be covering a lot more in detail in the further sessions. So we'll have once in a month mostly. That depends on, yeah. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. And yeah, I'll leave to Akil, like if you want to like have anything. Yeah.
Thanks everybody for joining. I hope you had some takeaway from this. And yeah, I hope to see you guys in the upcoming sessions.
Yeah. All right then. Thank you guys. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you.